and like Boston be like, hey, like what? He goes to the team because they losing. You know, like, oh, like, well, you're trying. Yeah. You gotta watch some of the podcasts too. Also, there's a lot of NFL. Like, there's strictly teams, podcasts for each team in the NFL. Yeah, Mike White had one. He wanted to follow. Yeah. Yeah. Got me. That was a good one. I own it today, boy. Every day. Do what it is. Hey, shit back. No, hey, you just came in. Just came in right now in this room. What's today? Tuesday or Wednesday? It's Thursday, bro. Thursday. Actually, Wednesday? Thursday. What is that? Yeah. I'm gonna see. Hey, that was good. I like that. You know. Oh, yeah. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, yeah. I see it. I see it now. Yes. It's all right. I'll see y'all later. I'm trying to find like things like find out okay, so hey. Okay. Good. This is what I was thinking. What's up, Hi, man. How are you?
Good. That's for Miss Cynthia right there, okay?
One minute. I want to apologize to the group over at North. This clock may not be synced to the clock over there, so I think sometimes we start a little late because the batteries may be getting a little weak in this one. You think? We've got a clock at our house that every time it hits an hour, it does something Christmassy, you know. So I just left it up. I like it. And as right now the batteries are completely dead, but as the batteries started to die, you know, it would jingle bell. You know, it got a little weird. But, so sound like Santa Claus on drugs. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. The same housekeeping every day. Why do we do the same housekeeping every day? Same stuff like you got to have your sign-in sheets. Everybody make sure that you signed in on the sign-in sheets. Everybody make sure you got your book in group. So why don't we go over that every day?
Build a routine.
Get the routine going. Let everybody know that we have to do those things. That's true. The other thing is that, you know, we have a 2-hour group, and that kills a few minutes in the morning, you know, to get started. But so we also have a group goal. So what's our group goal this morning? We don't yet know what we're studying. We're still on spirituality for the week, but our group goal today is going to be fun in recovery. One of the reasons, what do you think one of the biggest reasons for us relapsing?
Boredom.
Exactly right. Boredom. I talk to people all the time that have relapsed, and that's exactly what they go to. Boredom. Got bored. Because here's the deal. Whatever I'm doing, the use of drugs, when it excites my limbic system, it makes whatever I'm doing 10 times more interesting. So when I go do that same thing without the benefit of drugs to help me get excited about it, it is a little bit less exciting, and I get to that place where everything is boring. Now, it's the same thing that I did before that when I was on drugs. I'm doing exactly the same thing. I just don't have the benefit of that extra oomph to help me do it. So, and I'm saying benefit, but you know it's not a benefit. But that's what's happening. That's why now when I get out, everything is boring. So I have to figure some way to be happy, some way to be joyful, some way to have fun in my recovery. Because if I don't, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to get bored. And once I get bored, I'm going to start looking at things like, hey, you know what? Used to be when I had a little something, something here, this was fun. And life is no longer fun. So I'm going to have a little something, something. So we want to get to the place where we don't need to have a little something, something to make life exciting, make life less boring, right? So today is Wednesday, and what does the word Wednesday mean?
Thursday Eve.
Thursday Eve, the man said. See, and people don't think we're brilliant. That's fantastic. Yeah, it's Thursday Eve. It means center or middle. So it makes perfect sense that we would use that word to say the middle of the week or the center of the week. So at the middle of the week, the center of the week, we've gone over where we're moving forward in our spiritual journey. We first, don't have any idea about that at all. We don't want to do with that. We don't want to fool with that. Then we get to a place of maybe a little bit of confusion. We know there might be something out there, but we don't know what it is. There was a religion that came up when I went to seminary, but we called them cemetery. Just the way it is. And there was a group of people who got together, and they became pretty large group of people who believed that God was an astronaut and that he was going to come back and get us in golden spaceships. And so, we come up with some, as we move through our spiritual journey, we can take some offshoots sometimes. And so we get to that place of confusion because we know there's something out there, somebody out there that's more than I am, but I'm not really quite sure who that is, what that is, where that is, or why that is. And so as we move forward, though, we get to a place of tepid. What is tepidity?
Cautious.
What is it?
Cautious.
Anybody else got an answer?
Yeah,
Say it to me louder.
what's the word again?
Tepid. T-E-P-I-D. Tepid. Yeah. It's kind of like warm water. There's cold water, and then there's hot water. But tepid water is somewhere in the middle. It's a lukewarm. Lukewarm. Yeah, it's just a little lukewarm. It's like when you get if you drink a something that you usually have ice in, but the ice is melted and now it's tepid because it's not all that good. And then it's like if you get a cup of coffee. My kids bought me a coffee heater that sits by my seat at home, and it's got a little switch on there. You turn it on, and it keeps your coffee warm. It doesn't do that great a job. I keep it because my kids gave it to me. So when they come over, hey, there's the thing I gave Dad. Yeah, okay. But I put my coffee on there, and then after I'm sitting there for 10 or 15 minutes, it becomes what? Tepid. Becomes lukewarm. So we get at that place where we're moved from confusion, but we're at a place that we're going to call for a better term, for lack of a better term, we're going to call it tepid. You have some exposure to a spiritual life. Maybe somebody forced you to go to church with them sometime. Maybe you went to church with somebody just because you're their friend. Our church always has these friends and family day. We want you to bring all of your friends and all of your family, and have a big day at church, and we have something to eat and stuff like that. So, you got some exposure to it. Maybe mom, dad, maybe they pray over the meal. Maybe they do some stuff like that. You don't know. Although you've done little effort has been made to explore the meaning of a spiritual life or toward adherence to any set of spiritual principles. You are already at that place where you knew there was something greater than yourself. You knew that. So when you come into a place like AA or NA or some of those other places, it makes it a little easier for us to accept the idea of a higher power because we're already thinking that there's something out there. And now we're at a place where we've been exposed to it a little bit. We've seen some other people going to church. We've had the church bus come by. We've done some things. But we haven't really gotten ourselves involved in it along the way. So that's tepid. And so it's the only way to go from there usually is upward. Now, I'm sure that you have noticed this. This is a real simple little drawing this morning. So those of you who, and I did that on purpose because those of you, and I know you can't see it very well at North, just take my word for it. Those of you who've been wanting to buy some of my artwork, those other ones up to this time, they were in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. This one's more simple. It can be had for $2,000 or $3,000. It's not, anybody can afford this one. But there's a couple of things I want you to see. See, this is a person, and I think this is a male because you see got an Adam's apple there. And what's he doing?
Smiling.
What is it?
Smiling.
He is smiling, but what else is he doing?
It's a smirk.
It's a smirk. Okay, get past what he's smirking. Yeah. But what's he doing?
Looking at himself in the mirror.
He is looking at himself in the mirror. So what we need to be doing, look, we're going to beat stress. We're going to beat boredom. We're going to beat all of that stuff by looking at ourselves in the mirror a little bit. We need to be looking at us. Here's the thing. If I don't know me, it's going to be hard for me to stay in recovery. So I need to be looking at myself and understand that's going to help me to get out of a place where boredom is. Now let me share this with you. This morning we're going to be looking at how to deal with some boredom. I know that you know that boredom is normal. Even when you're not in recovery, you can get bored, right? I'll go home. My wife usually just is at the house by herself and her dog, and she's there all day. And I asked her, I came in the other day, and I said, well, how was your day? And the first thing she said was, I was bored all day. Because it's okay to sit and watch television, but if you sit and watch television all day long, she has these limiting issues, and so that's mostly what she does. And so that can get boring. So I had to load her up and take her to the store. My little town, there's only a market basket. It's not a whole lot to do there either. But, to get out of boredom. Boredom is even more so. Boredom is a common challenge during recovery. It is a guarantee. I don't make many guarantees, but it's a guarantee. Once we get into our recovery and we get back into the world and we're trying to live a life of recovery, it's not going to take us long to get bored. So it's just a common experience for human beings, and it's a very common experience for those of us in recovery. So it stems from lifestyle changes, but it also stems from chemical changes in your brain. Your brain is making adjustments. We've done some really seriously bad things to our brain. Remember we said if you use drugs or alcohol for around 20 years, 25 years, something like that, it's going to begin to shrink your brain. And I said that wrong. It's going to shrink your brain up to about 20%. It begins to shrink your brain many, many years before that. We began to if you use alcohol is going to shrink your brain. Alcohol is the one drug that shrinks your brain quicker than anything else. But all drugs do it. But alcohol is the one that does it with more rapidity. The other thing, and I'm not going to say that, but there are other things that alcohol does to our body that we need to take into account. Yes, sir?
This might sound like a dumb question, but I got to ask.
All right.
If you stop drinking for so many years, for a long time, does your brain go back to its original size?
That's not a dumb question. That's a fantastic question. The question was, if you quit drinking, will your brain recover? Will your brain rebuild itself, get back to its original state? I'm not going to tell you that it's going to get back to its original state, but what I will tell you is that the human body is amazing, and your brain is amazing. And so it does repair itself. Everything that we do to ourselves, the body is going to begin to repair once we stop. When you stop drinking, your brain begins to repair itself. It may not get itself back. There's a lot of damage. A lot of damage. So it may not get itself back to that place where it was. Perfect, gray, little brain that weighs 3 pounds, that's magnificent. It may not ever get back to that, but it's going to move in that direction. And is it a good idea to move it in that direction? Yeah, I don't want anybody to say, well, if I'm not going to get it back to 100%, I just ain't going to do it at all. Look, if you can get it back to 80%, that's a whole lot better than where it is now. So we need to do that. It's just like with smoking. You know, I've had people tell me, well, I've already done all the damage. I've been smoking for 50 years. Look, if you stop smoking, your body begins to repair itself. Your lungs probably will never be at 100%. But if you quit smoking, statistics say that at 10 years after you've quit smoking, you have the same level of risk of getting cancer of the lungs, lung cancer, as somebody who never smoked. So it's going to get way close to that. So stopping doing the destructive things that we do, your body will begin to repair itself. So it's a real good idea. You know, it's just like if you eat poorly and you've gained a bunch of weight and stuff like that. If you begin to eat correctly, what happens? Your body will respond to that. You're going to lose the weight. Do you lose the fat? No, fat cells never go away. Fat cells flatten out. They will never go away. So you still have that, but you have that under control. You have it in remission. But it makes it easier for you to gain weight. That's the jab to that. And another thing that's probably way unfair, I had one time way back when I was a young guy, I had a weight loss company. Guys lose weight about 80% faster than women folk. I know that's not fair to the ladies, but it's just the way that it is. It's because of the makeup of our bodies. A male can lose weight. You can lose weight overnight. A guy can lose 5 pounds overnight. It takes a girl 2 weeks to lose 5 pounds. You all right? Are you? You doing all that on purpose?
Sure.
Okay. That's just happening to you?
Sure.
Okay. But you're all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You ain't going to fall out the chair.
No, sir. I just didn't take my medicine.
Why didn't you take your med?
Because I'm trying to cut down so the last.
Okay. See, my wife does the same thing. And if she doesn't take her meds, she does the same thing you're doing. And, you know, that's why I recognize that very quick. So, all right, so here's the thing. You know, we're going to look at some stuff. Changes or chemical adjustments are going on in the brain. It's important for us not to be all that bored and all that mess because it can lead to relapse if it is not addressed. So we need to address it. We need to leave out of here. Here's one of the important, probably maybe the most important, I would say the second most important thing we're going to learn. The most important thing we're going to learn is that we need to stay the heck away from old people, places, and things. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Y'all get a hold of this. Now, there's always outliers. There's people who are going to be able to go back and live with their crack-addicted family, and they're going to be fine. You know, there's that outlier, but we're usually not that. So if we don't stay away from old people, places, and things, we're going to wind up relapsing. We're going to do that. That's going to happen. So, the other thing is boredom. The second thing is boredom. We need to understand when we leave here and we get back into our life and we're in recovery and all of that stuff, that everything we do is going to feel dull for a while. It's not going to stay that way the rest of your life. It was like that for me for quite a while. But at some point, and I can't point to the exact point, I got all that excited one time. You ever been in an airplane that's going like this down toward the ground and the ground is going and you don't want to do that. It happens, but you don't want to do that. there's a way out of it. It's real simple to get out of that spin. It's called a death cycle, but there's a easy way to get out of it. But I'll guarantee you, your excitement level at that time will jump up there. You're going to get excited and all of that kind of stuff. And so at some point in my life, the excitement came back. And so, just knowing that life will not be a boring experience for the rest of our life is something that we can hold on to. But the understanding that when we first get out of here, it's more than likely going to be. It's more than likely going to be. So it's a good idea for us to figure out some things that we're going to be able to do to keep us from being bored when we get out of here. So we're going to look at a few things here, and some things here are really effective to help us maintain that. We need to understand the role of boredom in recovery because it has a major role in our recovery. If we cannot defeat boredom, then we're going to wind up, not necessarily, but there's a big chance that we're going to wind up relapsing. I'm so bored. Everything is so bland. Nothing is fun anymore. I feel like I'm at that place of anhedonia all the time. So I need to be able to get to a place where I can escape that feeling. So some of the things that we're going to look at, I poked myself in the eye with my glasses. That was exciting to me. I really, for a moment there. So boredom in recovery is a common but crucial emotional state that can and will hinder our progress. So we got to deal with it. It comes from significant lifestyle changes, because we're going to change our lifestyle. We're going to go from a place of using drugs and alcohol as a coping mechanism to not using drugs and alcohol as a coping mechanism. So see, that's one of the things that we have to cope with, right? We have to cope with boredom. We don't want to be bored. We want to be excited. We want to be having fun. We want to be able to do things that we enjoy, that makes us feel good about ourselves and makes us just feel good. So we want to be able to do those things. And so if we're in recovery and that's not happening, we've got to be able to do something about that. So we're going to have some significant lifestyle changes. Some of the people we used to have a lot of fun with, we're not hanging around anymore. I don't go see Charlie Webb at all anymore. Charlie Webb was my friend when we were growing up. We did everything we could together. Yeah, but I left, did a geographical escape, and moved 8 hours away from Charlie, and didn't tell him where I lived. So since that time, I've seen Charlie one time since then. And, so I don't go back around the old people that I used to have all that fun with. I know that if I did, it would be a lot of fun. But it also bring me back into my place where I was before, and I don't want to go there. So, but we've also had some other things going on. We've got some brain chemistry adjustments that are post-substance use. Like we said already, we have some brain damage, right? We have some stuff that's going on in our brain, and our limbic system, y'all remember what your limbic system is. Your limbic system is going to be telling you that you're going to die. That's what all of those things that get after us so badly when we want to use, we get the fiending, we get like that. That's our limbic system telling us if we don't use, we will die. Yes, sir.
I just have one question.
Okay.
Okay, you talked about your child one time.
Yeah.
In our year.
Yes, sir.
So, like you mentioned, how you look at that he needs to change something.
Oh, I think that he has. Charlie got married. Charlie owns a house. Charlie is a private detective in Meridian, Mississippi, and he's doing well for himself. So yeah, he's doing well. I hadn't seen Charlie in like 20 years. So I went over after 20 years. Charlie made the right decisions on a lot of things, and I made the right decisions on a lot of things too. But one of the things we need to know is it is not that person using that is a trigger for me. It's the memory of he and I using together. And so sometimes, look, and this is why I have people tell me all the time, I don't want us to get stuck on this, but I have people tell me all the time, I'm going to go back to my friends, I'm going to go back to my family members, and they have promised me that they won't drink around me. They know that I am in recovery. I'm trying to change my life. They love me, so they're not going to do anything like that around me. Is that a good plan? It sounds like a good plan, doesn't it? Because they're not going to use that, but it's not that person using that's going to be a trigger to you. It's that person. They don't have to be using. You just have to see that person. Or you just have to hear their voice. A lot of times, you just have to think about that person and you'll get triggered. So that's why it is imperative that we stay away from those people. We stay away from them. Now, again, we go back to the same old thing, and we talk about it all the time. There are outliers. There are some folks that can go back and be with those people again, and it won't affect them at all. But not, the chances of me being that person is slim to none. And look, I've done it. And a lot of the people in here have done it. We've already done that. We know it's true. We know it's true, and we're planning right now to do it again. We're planning right at this moment, when I get out of here, I'm going to go back. Some people don't have a choice. Some people are doing it by choice. But I know that it's true. It's happened to me 7 times, but I'm going right back there. So we need to know. It's not that person having a cocktail. It's not that person drinking a beer. It's that person. So anyway, we've got some things going on. Boredom can lead to feelings of restlessness, disengagement. What does disengagement mean? I don't want to be engaged in what's going on right now. I want to just move away from that. I don't want to be engaged in my new job because my new job is boring. I don't want to be engaged in school. School is boring. I don't want to be engaged in any spiritual activities. I don't want to go to church because that's boring. I don't want to do this because that's boring. So I want to disengage from all of those things. So this increases as I disengage. The thing that increases is my chances to relapse. Because as I disengage, I get to the place where I want to isolate myself. And look, being alone, being by yourself is not that bad a deal. Being alone, I get alone every now and then because I don't want to be around a bunch of folk. I'm around a bunch of folk all the time. Now, I don't want to be around a bunch of folk all the time. So there are times, and I've told y'all this, where I have my office. I go to my office and I sit there. I also have some woods around my house. I can just go walk through the woods. Sometimes I want to be alone. But I'm alone for 10 minutes. I'm alone for an hour. And then the rest of my time, yes, please, just please. Yes, we've been in group for almost 20 minutes, almost 25 minutes. I mean, I can't understand. I really appreciate you guys because I really can't understand how you can sit here for a whole hour and not, have to go to the bathroom. I'm thinking about getting some jugs and putting in here, but we're not going to do it. Anyway, recognizing boredom as a natural part of the recovery process is essential. This is why this is, and this is why I want people to stay in group. Because we're talking about something that's going to save your life. Okay? And I know sometimes, look, and I beat on people about going to the bathroom and stuff. But if we're full-grown people, right? Sometimes it just happens. And you have to go. So if you have to go, you have to go. Right? Y'all don't take it as gospel that you just can't, and I'm not trying to shame anybody or anything. If you got to go to the bathroom, we got to go to the bathroom. And I understand that. But seriously, try to do it when you can come back in here and get some of the information because some of it might save your life. And we want to be doing that. But we have to get to the place where we understand that when we get out of here and get into recovery, and it's already starting now. I see people walking around looking off into the, and this, that, and the other. And I know that there's a lot of boredom there. I will tell you this, that you have to respect Mr. Farmer because he does everything that he can do to let us go to Walmart, let us go do this, some of the ladies come over here sometimes and we do some things together. That's to fight the boredom that, our addiction is causing in us. So, excuse me. I get all choked up about this stuff. So it increases that. Recognizing boredom is going to be there. We do need to identify and address emotions, and we need to promote healthier coping mechanism. Addressing boredom proactively. What does that mean? I'm going to address my boredom issues now. I'm not going to wait until I get so bored that I want to use. I'm not going to wait until I get so bored that my limbic system keeps telling me, hey, you need to use, 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 and I go, use. Now, I want to do it proactively. I want to do it before it happens. I want to do something that's ready to go. It's on, and that's going to help me to get out of being bored. And here's the thing. You've got to figure out what that's going to be for you. Now, I'm going to come up with some I can't say it now, some worksheets for us going forward. We'll probably have those tomorrow if I can find them. My computer went a little bit nuts today and it's not working like it's supposed to. But hopefully tomorrow I can have some of those worksheets that you guys can have, and you can come up with what's going to help you keep from getting bored, because it's different for different people, right? I like going to antique shops. And I walk, I just like going through there looking for old stuff. I had somebody tell me that old people like old stuff. Well, no, okay. So I like that old stuff. Now, my wife doesn't like that. She'll go and she'll walk through and she'll look, all of that kind of stuff, but that's not her thing. She wants to go look at horses or look at dogs or something like that, which I could care less about. So, if I go looking at dogs, if I go to a dog show, guess what happened? I'm bored to tears. I am bored to tears. If we go to a car show, guess what happened? She's bored to tears. I said, look, it's a 1949 Ford. Okay. Yeah, it's a car. Boy, is it ever. Look at this thing. Yeah, okay. It's a car. She couldn't care less. It's not a truck. So we need to figure out which one it is. So addressing boredom proactively ensures a more stable and productive recovery journey. One of the things I need to do is begin immediately to recognize boredom. Recognize what it's going to do. When I start feeling like, man, this thing is bland, this thing ain't working like I want it to work, this thing is this and this thing is that, then I need to, at that point in time, begin to do something, right? We never look, and this is why we're talking about it, because most of the time we wait until we're right at the edge. We've already been bored for 2 weeks. We've been bored and bored and bored and bored, and so at that place we finally get down there where the boredom is so much that we can't deal with it, then we go, we don't need to wait for that period. We don't need to wait for that time. We need to start down here when it first starts getting in our mind. When I first start feeling a little bit bored, I don't think I'm happy about this. This ain't all that fun. They said, have a kid. It'll be fun. Yeah, right. We need to get to that place. We notice that this is happening now, then we need to start working at it, right? Because we don't need to get into the midst of it. Now, there's a thing, the importance of addressing boredom in recovery. We need to look at it real closely. It's crucial. There's a thing called cognitive behavioral therapy, and we're going to get some of that. That's what I'm going to bring you guys tomorrow. I was going to print it out today, but I couldn't get it to do. So y'all excuse me on that, but you're going to have it at both places. Tomorrow, we have the IT guy coming to work on my computer. So we're going to be doing that. CTP or CBT effectively addresses boredom by helping us to identify and challenge unhelpful thoughts and beliefs. One of my unhealthy, you feel better? Good. One of my healthy, you missed what I was saying about that. If you got to go, you got to go. You know. So one of the unhealthy beliefs is what? I can't get beyond it. I can't get past boredom. I'm always going to be bored. You know, if this is recovery, I would rather be in my addiction. And one of the things that we need to understand is that being bored in my recovery is 4,000 times better than being excited in my addiction. Because, being a little bit bored is not going to kill you. Make you feel bad, make you not happy, make you a little bit frustrated and things, but it's not going to kill you. Your addiction is going to kill you. And it's going to murder you. It's going to tear you to pieces. So we don't want to do that. So we need to start understanding what's one of the ways that we can do that through structure. We're going to have some structured worksheets. You're going to start looking at our triggers. Is there a trigger for boredom? Your boredom can be triggered just like your addiction can be triggered. You ever notice that when you cut on the television and you put on the football game, or you put on the boxing, or you put on a basketball game or something like that, and you look over and there's other people in the room watching their phone? Why is that?
Bored.
They're bored. And just turning on the game or turning on boxing or turning on something like that is a trigger for boredom to those people. And if the game is like 3 hours long, they're bored to tears by the time that thing is over with. You're excited at the edge of your seat, jumping up and down and all of that kind of stuff, and they're bored to tears. Yeah, So, like we were saying earlier, some of it doesn't work the same way for itself, for everybody. So CBT fosters self-awareness and encourages proactive coping mechanisms. Here's the deal. Like this guy's looking at himself in the mirror. We need to know what our own self-aware, what makes me bored, what bores the snot out of me. How do I feel when I first start feeling bored? How do I feel when I first start thinking about something as being boring? How do I feel? Anybody here ever been to a dinner theater? My wife and I go to a dinner theater. We have season tickets, and about every 3 months is when those things come up. We go to Deer Park and go to a dinner theater down there. Usually food's really good. They feed you before time. It's catered in. It's really good stuff. And sometimes the theater itself is really good. It's like a little play that you watch. And sometimes that's really good. But there's been other times when that is terribly boring. And I can feel myself beginning to get bored when the people come out on stage and you see who they are. And we've been going to the thing for quite a while, and we know some of the actors. And so when they come out on board, that guy can't act. That guy wishes he could act. That guy there is just silly as a goose. That guy over there, that lady up there, she sings at every one of these things, but she can't sing, And so you feel yourself, you're kind of talking yourself into being bored. So we need to understand it. We need to know what it is and then figure out what our proactive coping mechanisms could be. So how do I deal with that? I'm sitting there and I'm watching this thing, and sometimes it's boring. How do I deal with it? I've got to have a mechanism in myself to deal with it. Do something different. What if you can't get up and leave? You've got to sit through the thing, and it starts at, you have to get there at 6 o'clock. The play starts at 8, and it's not over with till about 11. So, what do you do?
I always say this, it's kind of like a mind over matter.
Mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter. There's also, and you're going to have different ways to do that. What you're going to have to do is discover those ways. One of the things that I've done, I don't eat sugar. Okay, but I have allowed myself because look, these guys have some of the most amazing desserts you've ever had in your life, you know. So I eat the meal and then I leave the dessert sitting in front of me, and I'll have them bring me a cup of coffee, and they'll bring me 3, 4, however many cups of coffee you want. So I'm sitting there and I'll have a bite and drink a cup of coffee, and have another little bite, drink a cup of coffee. So when that gets boring, I'm dealing with my you can't use your phone. You turn your phone on there, everybody, 300 people there looking at you because just the light, because you're in the dark, you know, the lights are all up on the stage. And so, you know, you have to do something proactive like that to keep that from happening. Luckily, they sell popcorn and they sell candy bars and they sell all of that kind of stuff. So here's this one day every 3 months, I give myself permission to eat some junk. And the big deal is because it's boring. We went and watched one that was supposed to be a prequel to Peter Pan. That was the worst thing that anybody in the world had ever come up with, and I must have made myself sick that night trying to keep from getting bored. You know, but we went and watched Sound of Music. That was wonderful. That was fantastic. I don't think I ate much of anything. I ate my meal, but I don't think I went. You know, I'm watching the show. It was great. But, you know, you have to come up with something that's going to work for you. And one of the things that excites me is food. I get excited about food. You know, I eat food every day. You know, I have today, my wife made me a special bacon and egg sandwich. That's what I wanted. And so I got it. So today I'm thinking about it right now. So my lunch is not going to be boring. Yeah. I don't know. I'm wondering whether I want to heat it or eat it cold. You know. So anyway, this approach, when you get something like this approach, not only reduces the risk of relapse when you are proactive about it, but it also enhances overall well-being, promoting a more fulfilling recovery journey. I want to be fulfilled in my recovery journey. It usually, look, it's fulfilling to me to know that I made one more day without using drugs and alcohol. My goal is to make one more day today, right? That in itself is fulfilling. Now, when I get home tonight, you know, used to every day on the way home, I stopped at 4 or 5 different places so that I could be at the right place when I got home. But nowadays, I don't stop at any of those places. I go straight to my house. Unless my wife calls me and say, get something stolen. You know, I go straight to my house, and I don't have those kinds of things. That in itself is fulfilling. But there should be other things in my recovery other than just recovery that's fulfilling for me. Right? Yeah. So I've done this, I've done that, whatever it is. There should be some things in my life that I enjoy. Miss Sierra was talking to me the other day, and some of the things that is fulfilling for her. Some of the things, one thing that she really enjoys is going to the beach. So, okay, I haven't been to the beach in 15 years. That place is nasty. It's got flesh-eating diseases in the water. But if that's what you like, that's what you like. And so we need to understand that it is different for different people, and that's all right. So we're going to get some of these things going on, and some of them is going to help us a lot. We're going to have structured exercise guides and all of this kind of stuff. But we need to be somewhere where we have something we can do. One thing that people need to have in their quiver so that they can use it is the ability, and it takes an ability to exercise. We need to be able to get out and to move and to exercise. Almost anything that's wrong with you can be helped by exercise. Anything that's going on with you, it can be helped with exercise. And there's some things out there, as we go and as we exercise, it releases endorphins into our body, and we get a little bit high from those endorphins, and we have fun because of that. And at the same time, it raises our heart rate and lowers our heart rate and helps us to get to a place of better health. And that can excite us to some extent, right? That keeps us from being bored. If we're bored, and I see people do it in here, not everyone, but I see Mr. Robert when we go on break, he's going to walk around the parking lot. Now, I'm not saying he has to do that, but he does that just about every day. When I go out to call my wife and check on her, I see Mr. Robert. Mr. Gold's going around the parking lot, and he'll do that 4 or 5 times. That's really, really good, and that's going to help him not be bored all the time. You know, I see some other people grab the basketball out there and start. Y'all noticed I started parking my car way down on the other end. Well, that's good for exercise. It helps me. I walk back and forth to that, and that's good for me. But it's also protecting the back windshield on my car because he's not good at basketball. He's just playing with the basketball. But that's a good thing because going out and doing something like that is going to keep from getting into a place of boredom. So, really important that we find out what it is for overcoming boredom. Now, here's one big note. There are practical strategies for overcoming boredom. Yes, sir.
I'm up for a challenge.
You're up for a challenge?
15 years.
Okay. Man, look, how old are you?
39.
It's 30. Here this 39-year-old man says, yes, I'm good at playing basketball, so he's going to challenge a 72-year-old man that ain't never played basketball, and you know, he has an outside chance of beating me, doesn't he? But it's still an outside chance because I think I can take him. So I'm gonna take him up on that. Practical strategies for overcoming boredom involve engaging in new activities. Do something new. I just said I don't play basketball. Should I play basketball? Yeah. When I was in the Army, I was in the academy when I was in the Army, and I was probably 22, maybe. I went in at 19. It was probably 22. And one of the things the instructors at the academy told us was play basketball. Why you want to play basketball? That give you a lot of exercise. It's really good exercise. It gives you a good feeling about accomplishment. Every time you hit that little net, you feel so good about yourself and all of those kinds of things. Basketball is a good thing to do.
I'm really, I'm not good at it.
Well, we all know that. We watch it.
I just play because it's just right there.
Yeah.
My main sport is volleyball. I like volleyball.
Well, here's the deal. Do you have to be good at something to do it? No. You know how you get good at something? You do it. This morning, I was in there and I put this little thing up here, and I found what I wanted, and then I went and put it on. I tried to put it on Word so that I could print it out, and Word froze. And so Word is right now frozen on my computer there. It won't do anything. When you pop it up, it takes the whole screen. So I think I got a virus in the Word thing. So I was trying to print it off of I have also a desktop. I was trying to print it off my desktop in there, and it won't do anything. And I look, and there has a little thing in the wall, the little Wi-Fi thing, and it's got a red light on it. And the red light means this ain't working. So, none of that's working. So I had to go get Miss Charnel and Miss Casey, and they're younger than me, and man, they're whiz bangs at that. They came in there and they looked at all of that stuff, and they said, okay, this is what's going on. And Charnel went all over oh my God. Casey came and went all over it. Then Miss Rebecca came down. She went all over, I'm sitting there going, I have no idea how they just did what they just did. And I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with that. So I'm doing some new things right now. I studied my calendar stuff this morning. I'm studying other stuff. I want to get to be as good at that stuff as Charnel is. I really appreciate the fact that Miss Charnel will come help me and Miss Casey will come help me. But this morning they got to a point they couldn't do it. They just threw their hands up and walked out. So there you go. So I want to learn how to do that. Just learning something new, a new game, a new computer skill, a new language. I have, I can speak a little bit of German because I lived in Germany for 3 years and you had to speak a little bit of it. I know about 8 words in Spanish. I've gone to learn Spanish, conversational Spanish about 9 times, and every time it defeats me. But just doing something new. And so it also helps your mind stay pliable. It helps you stay engaged in everyday living. And I would recommend you do something every day. Continue to do that. It's called lifelong learning. Learn the rest of your life. I'm about to. I have 4 degrees. I'm about to do another one. The thing that's keeping me from it right now is time, of course. But the other thing is money. And, when you get my age and you tell them, hey, I would like a grant or I'd like a scholarship or something, they look at you, well, they want to give that to younger people who are going to be able to use the degree. But I'm going to be around for 120 years, so I'm going to be able to use it. So we need to find something that we can do, and exploring some new hobbies is a good hobby. My wife is into horses and she's into dogs, and that's a real expensive hobby. Both of those are pretty expensive hobbies. Kendrick, wake up back there before you fall out your chair, man.
You're not asleep.
You're not asleep where you were starting to roll over like that. So here's the deal. Just get a new hobby. There's all sorts of hobbies out there. Find something that you like to do. I went down on the beach. Like I say, it was probably 20 years ago, but there were guys down there, full-grown men, flying kites. I go, okay. I hadn't flown a kite since I was a kid, but they were having a ball. It was wonderful. So they were definitely not bored. So practicing mindfulness. Some people, look, that's hard for some people. Just practicing mindfulness, getting myself in the moment. Sometimes that's really entertaining, and we can figure out what's going on around us. What are the smells I smell? What are the sounds I hear? What are the things I see? And just get us in that moment. Sometimes that helps me focus, and I don't do it a lot, but I think that I might need to do that a little bit more. And one of the things that's really, really important, because it skips us, it gets past us a lot, is identifying the triggers that we have. I need to know what triggers my getting bored. I need to know what triggers that. So identifying triggers of boredom and recovery involves recognizing patterns, situations that lead to feelings of monotony and disengagement. What does the word monotony mean?
Same over and over.
Doing the same thing over and over. Just boring. You got a good book back there? Is that a good book? It's pretty interesting. I'm glad. All right. So monotony means it's like that. Just blah. Just boring. Monotonous. Same thing. All day long. It's like working on an assembly line, right? And you're putting a widget in. You put the widget in, and you put the widget in, and you put the widget in. And when you come back to work the next day, there's a whole big pile of new widgets that have to go into the what's it, right? And so that can become monotonous. Listening to me, that can become monotonous, right? I know that. I look. People are trying their best to not go to sleep. Reading books and groups, they're doing anything they can to keep awake and all of that stuff. I apologize for being monotonous.
Is that almost the same thing as being insane?
No, you're trying to play a good game of basketball. That's the same thing as being insane. No.
No, it's like magical thinking. Magical thinking.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I've watched him play it. He's pretty fair at it. He's never gonna.
You're being nice.
He's never gonna get on a professional team, but he's not bad at it. Yeah. So I'm picking on him. But no, monotony means it's just boring. It's just boring. Or disengagement means I am taking myself away from that. When I find stuff that's in my life that's going on as monotonous, then I know that I'm getting to a place. The next thing is going to be I'm bored. And okay, the next thing could be, doesn't necessarily have to be, but could be relapse, right? If I'm doing whatever, playing basketball, and it becomes monotonous to me, it becomes boring to me, and if I use a little something, suddenly it's going to be an exciting game again. But it's not worth the outcome. So that's what we're trying to get away from. So we've got to have some stuff in our life that we understand the root causes going on with us. Triggers such as lack of stimulation. Nothing is stimulating me. What does it? Somebody tells you, hey, we're going to go do something, and you get excited about it. That's stimulation. Something that makes your heart race. Something that makes you think, I really, really, really want to do that. I got my eyes on the airplane. I really, really want that airplane. I really want that airplane. My birthday is coming up. I showed that to my wife, and I said, I really, and she said, no, you can't. I can't afford the airplane, but it's for sale. So it's for sale. Even if I can't fly it, take it, put it in the backyard. It's your airplane, but I can't do it. So, but that stimulates me. Sometimes things become routine, right? The same thing that you do every day. This is one of the reasons sometimes that this group is a little bit boring, right? Because we do the same thing. We're here from 9 to 11 every day, right? And then this afternoon from 1 to 3, you guys are going to be in group with your counselor, right? So you have a 2-hour group in the morning, then an even longer 3 hours. Sometimes that can become monotonous because it's an everyday grind doing the same thing. That's why I try to get things to keep us from being so bored, to do some things. That's why I lie to you about donuts and stuff. That gets you excited about it. And then you don't get the donuts, And so that gives you something to be angry about and all that stuff, and keeps you from being bored. So we got to figure all of that stuff out. We got to get us to a place where we need to be. So incorporating all of those things in, we got to get these strategies. They foster a fulfilling and purposeful recovery journey. So we need to identify the triggers. We need to identify all of those things and develop actionable steps to manage boredom. Now, I had somebody ask me this morning what that word actionable means, because I had to use it in a sentence this morning. What does actionable mean? I need to find something that I can act upon.
Something that's capable of putting some action into.
Yeah, something I can do.
Something new.
Yeah, something that I can actually take action on. One of the things that would cure any boredom at all in my life would be going into outer space. Elon Musk takes people into outer space every now and then. But have you seen how much that costs? Millions of dollars. I can't afford the seat. That's not actionable for me. So I would like to go do that, but that's not actionable for me. I just don't have the funds to do that. On my 75th birthday, which is 3 years from now, I'm going to Scotland. I'm going to spend anywhere between a couple of weeks to a month in Scotland. That's actionable for me. I can do that. I can save up the money to go over there. It's not all that much. It's according to what time of year you go, but you can get a ticket for about $750, and you can fly to Scotland, and then that's a round trip ticket. So you got that. I'm going to stay in bed and breakfast when I get over there, and they're about £50, which is about, last time I went it was 30. Now they're about £50, but that's about $70 a night that you can stay. You can do that. You can rent a car for about $50 a day over there. So that's a doable thing. You can do it. And while I'm over there, I can actually make some money while I'm there. There's churches all over that area. that don't have people to come and speak. So here I am, and so they go, and it helps your journey. Only some of them have what they call vicarages. A vicarage is a place where the preacher can stay. So I can go do some stuff. So that's actionable. So whatever I decide to do that's going to deal with my boredom for me, or going to help me deal with my boredom, has to be actionable. Has to be something that can actually be done. Because you're using the playing basketball to deal with some of the boredom of the group and all of that kind of stuff. That's actionable. And the same thing with Mr. Gold walking around. That's actionable. So I want to come up with something that I can do. I don't want to come up with something that's undoable because that doesn't work at all. So it's actionable steps to manage boredom. These resources promote autonomy and engagement. Autonomy means I'm feeling good about myself. Now, I don't have somebody to tell me that. I know in my own self that things are better for me. So we're going to look at some of these worksheets. We're not going to probably do it today. I'm going to try to get that done here this afternoon. But some of them are pretty good, and I'm going to see about getting them. But we're going to go ahead and take our break. We'll get back here at about 15 minutes after, and we'll finish this thing up. Thank you, gentlemen.
What's up? You heard what I said. I remember that.
Yeah, I think we have a better one at 11.
Well, we may have to find another spot.
It's right. It's time for your therapy session. It's 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Back.
It's 10 o'clock.
All right.
And you're not supposed to be late.
All right.
So.
I got one thing too.
Well, you might be at 11.
Yeah, today is good.
11 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah, today is good.
Fabulous.
Tired. Staying up late at night is not easy for me. Toss and turn at night time. Yeah, toss and turn at night time. I'm a drinker. I drink.
Hey, I used to actually run a karaoke.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's so
How you gonna do it with a teacher? Nothing's too much. Hey.
So
Oh.
something that you know, I'm 7 months.
Story of my life.
I feel like it's my dream.
She always get shit blamed on me.
I said Detroit Brown song. Like Detroit Brown song.
All right. We're back. I'll go through the rest of this pretty quickly. Somewhat before we get back, we were talking about fun and recovery and trying to beat boredom. Someone asked me how many of those. Y'all know what an old duel is? Nobody knows what an old duel is? Old duel is it's a non-alcoholic beer. So they ask how many of those old duels can a person drink? How many you think would be a good idea?
I know.
None. There's two reasons why you can't drink an old duel. What is it?
I said, what the?
Well, I have drank them back in the day, and they weren't bad, but they taste like watered down beer. But the first thing is that it's romancing the drug.
Yeah.
It's romancing the drug. Now, my drug of choice is alcohol. Alcohol. And I smoke a little marijuana, but my drug of choice is alcohol. But what if your drug of choice is methamphetamine? That's what you're addicted to is methamphetamines. Can you drink an old duel? No. The deal about old duels is that there's two reasons you can't drink it. The biggest reason is that we're romancing the drug. And when we're drinking something that looks like the drug, tastes like the drug, smells like the drug, then we're romancing the drug. And if we continue, I had a lady that came to my group years and years ago, and she had a wine flute. She had asked if she could bring something to drink to group. And of course, yes, of course, So she brought a wine flute. That's a flute. That's just a tall skinny glass. And it had red liquid in it, all the way up to the top. And I'm looking at that. So I went out there and I said, what on earth did you have? And she said, what was that stuff called? Big Red? And it's soda, but it's Big Red. And we had to tell her, you can't drink that in here. So why did we tell her that? She was romancing the drug, and she was pretending, and even if she didn't know that she was pretending it, but she was pretending that was wine. It looked like wine, it smelled like wine, probably tasted a little bit like wine, but so you can't do that. So it's romancing the drug. The other thing about old duels, it does have alcohol in it. It says non-alcoholic. But there is a very small amount of alcohol that is in that can of beer, and it has to be in there because of the hops and the stuff that they put in there. It's the alcohol that binds them together. So it has to be, but it's a minute amount, but it's still a little bit amount. And what is it when you drink alcohol? What happens? Any amount of alcohol wakes up the tetrahydroquinone in your brain. So, tetrahydroquinone is the thing that is in alcohol that keeps you addicted to the alcohol. It gets first off, your limbic system is saying, hey, you got to have it or you're going to die. But then there's this tetrahydroquinone that hides in your brain up here. And when you get just a minute amount of alcohol in your brain, it wakes that addiction back up. And you're at the same level of addiction that you used to be. No, it's not like dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter. Tetrahydroquinone is an enzyme that it rides in. It rides in on alcohol because alcohol has tetrahydroquinone in it. But all of the other drugs that we use cause your body to create tetrahydroquinone. So it's there. If we've ever used drugs or alcohol, tetrahydroquinone is in your brain. And what part of this part of your brain is this? The higher reasoning part of your brain. It's up there in your one of the lobes, and so that's why we can't. We don't want to be drinking that stuff. So where were we? We need structure. We need content. So one of the things that we need to do is stay active, stay engaged. We need to have a structured plan that's essential to combat boredom in recovery. That involves setting clear goals, scheduling, engaging activities, exploring new hobbies. Workshops that can be social interactions can also help with engagement. By staying active and focused, individuals reduce the risk of boredom-related relapse. Well, if we relapse, is it always going to be about boredom? No. There's a whole 1,000 other different reasons that people can and do relapse. But this is just one of them. And if we can deal with one, is that helpful? Yeah. If there's 20,000 different things that's going to cause us to relapse, and now we only have 19,999, that's helpful. You know, since I'm a veteran, when I go to a lot of the places, restaurants, hotels, part shops, and all of that kind of stuff, they give me a military. Yeah, they give me a military discount. Yeah, it's 10%, and that's not much. You know, but usually it will pay the taxes on. So I'm not going to tell them, hey, you know, yeah, I'm a veteran, but don't worry about giving me that discount because it's only 10%. I'll take the 10%, right? And if you go around that day and you get 10% at the parts store, you get 10% where you go out to eat, and 10% at the hotel you're staying at. That's, you know, it can add up over a period of time. So we need to have some of those things. By staying active and focused, we're going to reduce that boredom-related thing anyway. Consistent implementation of these strategies fosters a fulfilling and purposeful recovery journey, ensuring long-term success and emotional well-being. Some of this material goes over and over on certain points. They do that on purpose because they want us to know this is what we want to have. We want to have an emotional, well-adjusted recovery when we get out of here. Because what happens if we get bored and all of that kind of stuff when we get to the place where it's called white knuckling it? And when we get to white knuckling it, that means I'm just hanging on by my teeth. You know, I may make it. I may make it for 6 months. I may make it for 6 years. I may make it for, you know, I may make it for the rest of my life, but it's not likely if I'm just barely hanging on. I want to get to the place where not only am I hanging on, I'm thriving. I'm doing well. I have a good place of well-being. I feel good about what's going on with me, and I'm not bored with the life that I have built for myself, right? So we're going to come up with some of those worksheets because they are an effective tool and they are designed to help individualize, recognize triggers. The big deal here is we need to recognize our triggers. Because I think that all of us, when we get out of here, we at in one way or another, one time or another, we're going to become bored. There's going to be some things that are going to be boring that we're going to have to do in our lives. Some of us have boring jobs. Some of us have boring things going on in our lives. Some of us are just boring people. But here's the deal. Even though we're going to be bored every now and then, we don't need to be at a place where we're going to allow the boredom to get us to a place where we can't stand it anymore. We're going to use something else. So we're going to have to use these sheets to recognize triggers. Know what's going to bore the fire out of me. All right? Anybody ever been to something that everybody else thinks it's fantastic, but you're bored to tears. That happens because people are not made the same way. There's some things that you find exciting that I would not. I come in here sometimes, come out of the back, go to my office, and there's some stuff on television. You guys are glued to that. And man, this is, I heard the other day, I don't know who said it, so if you said it, don't get offended. This is the best vampire movie ever made. To me, what a waste of time. What a waste of time. You're watching a movie about vampires? What? Yeah, I'm full grown. I got much better things to do than watch a movie about vampires. Oh my God. But, we had guys all up here. I bet some of y'all were scared to go to bed that night. So that was a thing that was exciting to you, and that's okay. So I can't eat that kind of stuff, but he's just delivering it to everybody. And, that's good stuff. Identify some thoughts. Think about the things that are going to cause you to have some stuff. Identify some thoughts that's going to lead you to a place. Look, when we talk about this all the time, we talk about positive self-talk. And when you say something like, man, this is boring, what is that? That's negative self-talk. Man, this is terrible. I'm not getting anything out of this. This is horrible. We need to be thinking about what we're thinking about, right? And if I'm thinking about what I'm thinking about, then what I say is going to come out a little bit different. If I think, well, you know what, I can use positive self-talk to get myself beyond it. This is not that boring. This is not all that bad. I can deal with this. This is not going to be, this group is 2 hours long. We take a 15-minute break. That's an hour and 45 minutes, right? We should be able to deal with it. I mean, an hour and 45 minutes, we should be able to just get through that pretty well. So if I'm telling myself this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my life, then this is going to be the worst thing that's ever happened to you in your life. But if we tell ourselves this is not all that bad, and Dr. Gardner needs the paycheck, got to pay for that wife's new car, new truck, all that. See, that helps me to stay engaged, alive, awake, and doing some stuff. So we need to do that. And then we already talked about it a little bit, but we need to develop actionable steps to manage boredom. We are going to get some of those things, but look, we've already talked about it. But one of the things that's an actionable step, and remember, actionable means something I can do, is positive self-talk. Start talking about, I just say, and you may not believe it, but you can say, I enjoy the group. I enjoy going to group. I really enjoy being in recovery. And I will tell you something. I have been in recovery a minute. I really enjoy being in recovery. Y'all know what I did last night? I do. I remember what I did last night. Everything I did last night. I ain't gonna tell you neither. Mr. Robert said, no, I don't know what you did, but I'm sure you're gonna tell. He said it just like, oh. No, but I do. I remember everything I did last night. That's important to me. There was a time in my life I had no idea. Sometimes I didn't know what I had done for the week. What did you do? I don't know. The police say, well, where were you? Got no idea. I'm sure I was there if y'all say I was, but, I don't know. Now, driving home, start drinking on the way home, gone. Don't know what happened, have no idea, wake up, walking up your steps at the house. You go out and look at your truck, pat it on the hood, say thank you, because once again, it got you home. So I'm really excited about knowing what I did last night. So I am excited about being in recovery, and I'm never, unless, there's people as they get older and older and older, they forget where they are and all of that kind of stuff. But I'm never going to be at that place because of alcohol or drugs.
So, tell us what you did last night?
So no, I'm just going to tell you it's not important what I did. The important thing is I know what I did. I just left from here. I went home, drove home, got to my house, and there are about 4 or 5 things that I have to do to prepare my home for the night because my wife is unable to do those things. So we've got, y'all know what a Goofy is? It's a robot vacuum cleaner that we punch at 8 o'clock at night before I go to bed. I punch that thing, turn it on, and it says, begin cleaning, and it'll take off and it'll go do the cleaning. But every night I have to empty the little tray. And she has this husky dog, and that little tray is always full of hair. Always full of hair. So I have to dump that thing, and I make the bed, and I have to take my pills, and I do all of the things. I have to feed the cats outside. You know, there's just these things that she's unable to do that I have to do. Wash the dishes, I have to do that. All those guys. But I remember doing it.
Pretty busy shift after you leave here.
Say that again?
So you have a busy shift.
Yeah, I do.
It's like another job.
It is like another job, and yeah, yes.
Personal question. Is there any kind of shows that you like watching?
Anything that I like to watch.
Or do you even have time to watch anything?
I don't watch a lot of television at all. He wants to know what my favorite television show is.
Gunsmoke.
No, I watch the news in the morning when I finish with my Bible study and all of that stuff. I will watch the national news that comes on. There's a news. What's it called? I don't know, but it comes on at 5 o'clock. I watch that for 30 minutes, and if I'm in a real, if I want to watch something frivolous and stupid and all of that stuff, just to take. Sometimes I need to. Sometimes it's good to just burn down. I'll watch. No, I don't like it. What's the Orville? Y'all watch Orville?
Yeah.
Now I will watch the Orville every now and then. That's really about it. We watch it whatever my wife wants to watch because I'm not watching it. So we need to do some of those. These things will promote autonomy and engagement. We're going to be looking at some stuff that's identifying all of these things, planning those steps, and there's featured guided exercises. We're going to do some reflection prompts, some space for goal setting. We're going to do some of those things. One thing about managing boredom, when we get the CBT workshop that helps us do that, there's an outside-the-box recovery workbook. Anybody ever done the outside-the-box thinking worksheet? What's that mean? This is going to help us with our being bored, because when I find myself getting bored a little bit, I'm going to think outside the box. And what that means is simply that I'm going to think of other things. I'm going to get beyond the place where I'm usually thinking. When I get bored of something, there's some things I usually do. But I really like, instead of watching TV and wasting my time with that junk, I like to drive around. I enjoy driving through neighborhoods and looking at people's houses and stuff like that, and just driving around. I like looking at churches. I enjoy going into the sanctuary of other churches other than mine, seeing what their sanctuary is like. And usually if there's somebody there, lots of the churches that are, doing well enough to have a secretary or something like that, if I go there and let them know who I am, they will show me the sanctuary and let me see that and all that kind of stuff. I find that entertaining. I enjoy that. I did that quite a bit over in England when I was over there, and it's just really good thing. Also, there's some things on reflection and meditation that we can do. What does reflection mean? Yeah, looking back at it, looking back at some things. One of the things, if boredom is an issue for me, if relapse is an issue for me, and I have defeated it in the past, I always ask people, well, what did you do back then to deal with that? What did you do to help you not relapse? What did you do to help you not become bored? Let's do that. If it worked one time, is there a chance it might work again? Yeah, it's not absolutely guaranteed, but look, it might work again, right? And so let's do it again. And if it does work, then that's some good stuff. Praise God for it. Meditation. Not medication, but meditation. We do need to be practicing meditation. We need to get to the place where we find that one thing. We're going to think about that on a deep level. Meditation means I'm not just thinking about it for a few minutes. I'm going to take some time and I'm going to think about that. Well, meditate on that. What does that really mean? That's where one of the places where I can use my mindfulness skills, where I can get myself into the moment and just think about whatever it is that is going on that I need to be thinking about. So, the role of routine and structure. Routine and structure are essential in our recovery. We need, and it already talked about it a little bit, we're going to go over it again real quick. We need to come up with a routine. Now, what's the problem with a routine? It can get boring. It can get monotonous. So we got to figure a way that we're going to be able to change our routine. When we're going anywhere we go, when my wife and I are going somewhere, she wants to take the most succinct route, the quickest route there. She'll go out here and get on Highway 10 and go, and go right there, and get back. I know every route there is to go. When somebody is waiting on you and going to shoot you or something like that, they figure out which route you're taking every day. They can't do that with me because there's no telling which way I'm going to go home because I want to know all of those different ways. I was going home yesterday and the Burger King in our town, it's not my town really, the Burger King in Winnie, Texas burned down yesterday. And the Burger King is right next to the highway over here. When you get off on the exit to go to Winnie, there's the Burger King right here. Or the Burger King was there when I passed by it on the highway. And that's my exit. So I get off there and I go down here and I go that way. But there were policemen and fire trucks and ambulances and all kind of stuff all over the place. There's no way. They had everything blocked off. And there's no way for you to go anywhere there. And I looked at that thing and it burnt to the ground. And it's a sad thing. We don't go to Burger King because, good God, who knows what they got in that stuff. Yeah. But still, I'm a little sad about that because, 10 or 12 people probably lost their jobs. So it's sad. But it didn't bother me because I know exactly how to get home. I kept going and took the next exit, and I knew exactly where that took me, so it didn't take me another 3 minutes to get home. So I want to have some of those things that will break up the monotony and do things a little bit different. And to me, it's fun to go a different way. And so it's also, it's a good thing for you to know when you're going out there, something like that. So you can go, and it gets us routine and structure are essential in our recovery, but we have to be careful for them turning into a place, something that is boring. This helps individuals avoid boredom and maintain focus if we have a good routine that we can move and change and do the things that we need to do. Routine means I have something that I have to do and I have a plan on how to get it done. It doesn't mean that I have to do everything the same way every day, right? We talked about this the other day. When you get up in the morning, which leg do you put in your pants?
Both.
You said both? He does both? And I guess you can sit on your bed and you can do that, But here's the deal. Most people put their right leg in there, but tomorrow morning you get up and put your left leg in. Tomorrow morning you can get up, sit on your bed, and slide your pants on, do that. Or you can just don't wash your pants at all, won't wash your clothes at all. And when they get stiff enough, they'll stand up by themselves and you can just jump up and jump in them. So you can change up how you do things, but you still have that routine, right? You're still going to come out of your room in the morning with your pants on. You're still going to be dressed for group, but you don't have to do it the same way every day, although that's what we usually do, right? So we can change stuff up. When I get up in the morning, I'm going to do the same thing that I did tomorrow morning. I'm going to get up and do the same thing on Thursday that I did on Wednesday, but I'm going to do it maybe a little bit different. I'm going to do the things a little bit different. We do have another training that we do on Thursday, so it's a little bit different. These can provide you, though, with a sense of purpose and stability. One of the things we have let go of, one of the things that we have let get destroyed is our sense of stability when we're in our addiction. we're not really all that stable. When I was using, I was going from house to house. I was, I didn't have what I had and what I needed to have. I would, I would stay on a job for not very long at all. I just wasn't a stable individual. So once I got into my recovery, then I became a stable because I know this is what I'm going to do. This is what's required of me. This is what I'm going to do. So, and when I have that sense of purpose, I know that when I get up in the morning, I have a purpose. Now, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to do the job that I have lined out for that day. So I have that purpose. And I think about that before I head into work. I think about the things, this is what I want to get done, and this is what I want to get done as well. So when I got in here this morning, because of the way that Myrtle here is acting, and the other one on my desk is acting, I've had to rethink that. So I'm going to do it a little bit different, but that's okay. It's okay because it doesn't bother my sense of purpose because I still have that purpose. But one of them I'm going to have to do